Hey, I'm Michael Dorinda.
And I'm Jake Bennett.
And welcome to take 3 of episode 165 of the North Meet South web podcast.
Yay, we did it. No one will be able to
disaster.
appreciate how much work went into getting that intro music in there without having to do an edit. Meaning that happened live just now on the show as Michael pushed a button on his brand new shiny soundboard, I think. So Michael, I got to know about the soundboard. I got to know why you bought it. What's going on with the soundboard thing? What's the deal here?
I'm planning for Laracon AU to record some interviews, I guess a bit of a behind the scenes with speakers and things like that, just to build a bit of content around what the experience of speaking at a conference is like. And also Matt Stauffer, who's coming down to speak, is going to be doing some recording as well. And I figured rather than him lugging recording equipment and all that kind of stuff down here from the US, I would just get some equipment that will allow him to, hopefully much more easily than what we just experienced, get set up and do some recording. So I got a Rodecaster Duo, which does like multi-track onboard recording and things like that. I've got these podcast mics, which is just like a holdy thing for the Rode Wireless Go.
Nice.
Like, the classic influencer little clip on your shirt thing. And so the idea being that he'll be able to record straight to the soundboard. He won't have to worry about plugging in a computer or anything like that. And I can just hand him the multi-track recording at the end of it, and then he can do whatever he needs to do with it. So that's why it's here. I am hoping that the carry bag case thing that I bought for this comes in time. When I purchased it, it said it would arrive on the 31st of October. So I don't think it's actually shipped yet. So fingers crossed. It still says that it will be here on the 31st of October. It's coming from Amazon Germany, but it was the only place that had this in stock. It hasn't shipped yet. But the last time I got something from Amazon Germany, it shipped on the Monday and I got it on the Thursday. So
that's not too bad. Yeah,
it arrives.
That's a pretty good turnaround.
Otherwise, I guess I'll just have to shove it in my bag in some bubble wrap.
Not too bad. Not too bad. Yeah, you could figure that out.
It will be fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll survive.
Absolutely. Yeah.
This whole process of me using this thing to record with you and trying to get the audio to go through Riverside so that I can hear you and me. And at the moment, I can hear myself twice because I've got the monitor on. So in order to be able to actually hear you, I think I could probably take those off now actually and survive without it. And I'll still be able to hear you because your audio is coming through my AirPods and it's not going through that thing. So
you couldn't hear that. You couldn't hear the sound effects without that thing.
I couldn't hear the sound effects without the monitor on. So there's some setting that I need to do. I don't know if I have to plug in a separate, a second USB cable and to get the channel to come back or what, but I will figure that out another time because we are short on time. I have 20 minutes of recording left before I have to go and collect my son from school. So
absolutely understand.
This will be a short, sharp, and shiny.
Yeah. I'm actually, if you're not one of the folks who wants another piece of hardware on your desk, you can also try Rogue Amoeba's Loopback, which is a software, no cable audio routing sort of deal. The equivalent to the soundboard sort of deal, if that's all you're wanting, is a Rogue Amoeba's second product, another product they have called Farrago. I think that's what it's called. And so you can do a soundboard through that. However, as Michael explained, the entire reason is not actually because he wants a soundboard or because he wants multi-track audio coming through his computer. It's to be used without a computer. So I understand why you're going through the trouble of setting it up. But just for those of you who are out there who are thinking it'd be fun to have a soundboard while I'm on my computer doing recordings, or you're in a Zoom meeting with your team and you want applause because they're not giving you any after shipping this amazing feature you've been working for weeks on, you can applaud yourself. And so like that. Exactly like that. Yep. So Rogue Amoeba, that is the ticket. So anyway. Hashtag no sponsor. We should have them sponsor us, but no sponsorship there. Actually, I should literally be hey, we talked about your thing on the show last week. You want to hook us up with some licenses and we'll give them out to our listeners? Yeah, maybe I'll reach out to them. We used to do that.
Or not respond.
Yeah, we used to do that. Anyway, man, yeah, I was going to say the last time we talked, you chatted about some really clever implementations you had for Nginx and for some Laravel routing stuff. Got some feedback on Twitter, which never happens. So
No.
thank you for reaching out. If you want to figure out who those people were, we can give them a quick shout on the show and say thank you. But it was fun just to hear from somebody be like, oh yeah, they really enjoyed your clever idea for how you could route something to a Laravel application or route it to a asset that's already been generated. So that was pretty cool. That was good.
Yeah, it was nice to get some feedback on it. I think, in all of my abundance of free time, I will try and maybe record a quick video, because it's not, not too in depth, not too crazy what it is that we're doing. And I think it's something that people have probably done in the past, like check if a file exists, and if it exists, like serve the file, otherwise generate the file and then serve the same thing. So it just kind of removes a step from the PHP land and lets you kind of just deal with it in the server side, like in Nginx, which is nice. But go and check out the previous episode. We don't need to rehash that.
Yep, indeed.
Right now.
Hey, speaking of files and clever workarounds for things, I was reminded that, and maybe we've talked about this on the show before, but maybe we have not. When you're dealing with like large file uploads and you just need to get them to a location, sometimes it's annoying to have to push them through your server, right? Have you ever had this issue? Maybe not. But like we deal with like a lot of upload. Like, I'm sorry?
The double upload, basically. They upload to you and then you have to upload. And
That's
so it takes not really twice as long, because obviously the server is typically going to be have a much quicker upload connection than whoever upload. But yeah, the fact that you've got to upload it to yourself and then you then have to upload it into S3 or whatever means that it's being done twice. Yeah,
exactly that. Yeah. So what we've been doing, and we just re-implemented this again recently, is we've been using FilePond.js, and they've got a really great interface. Works well. And, it can do previews. It shows, like, you can do multi-upload where it'll show, like, the little uploading indicator. And it's open source and it's free and all that good stuff. But what we've been doing is we've been using the AWS SDK. And similar to how you can create a temporary URL to download a file to location, from a location. So you have a private bucket.
Yeah.
And then you can say, no, I want to give temporary access. I want to give me a signed URL that has a timestamp that only allows it to do it for up to like 7 hours or something like that, right? You can do the same thing to allow someone to upload to a specific location on an S3 bucket. Did you know this?
Yeah. I've gone through this process before in the past. I think Yaz has been doing this stuff with his 50 squared image hosting service as well recently, where he's had to do that for Cloudflare's R2 service. Yeah,
it's really handy. And so I've not used Cloudflare's R2 service, so I can't speak to that. But essentially what we're doing is we're using Laravel's filesystems.php, and we're grabbing one of the disks and we're basically feeding it in and then setting a path and saying, give me a temporary upload URL to that location. And then we just pass that through to the front end. And it doesn't really matter if you pass it through to the front end, because it only allows them access to that one folder that you have granted them access to. And so you can set, you can have that access to that location for 6 hours or whatever, right? And they can upload anything they want to upload to that location for 6 hours. And now I have it. Like, I have access to that location through Laravel, and I didn't have to stream any of those uploads, which has been really sweet. So I don't know. Maybe I should, you were talking about maybe in my spare time, I'll make a video. I could probably make a video of that pretty quick too, or just share the code, because it's really not that hard. We have one class called pre-signed upload. I think we have it called pre-signed URL uploader or something like that is what our class is. And again, you just basically pass it a disk and a location, and it does like 3 or 4 things, and away you go. It's really, really simple, and I love it. It's great. And so I don't have to pay for any of that, the CPU cycles to actually get it up there. And there's no file size limit on my side either, right? So like I don't have to, like on my side, my server might say there's a 20 megabyte limit. Well, it's like, what if they want to upload a 1 gig file? Like, well, S3 can handle that, so you can just point it there and it'll work. So pretty sweet. Works really well.
Yeah. We went through that process a while back when I was doing some freelance work. We had to do the same thing to get a endpoint to upload from and then basically take that so that people could upload their like Vimeo videos. They would upload the raw video to S3.
Yeah, yeah.
We would then transcode it and things like that. Before we were using Vimeo, now we just upload straight to Vimeo on that particular project. But yeah, I think Taylor and I spoke about this years and years ago. Like this was before Vapor existed, and went through it. And there's like I wrote about doing this kind of thing on my blog, you know, when I was still writing on my blog, and I'm pretty sure this is the way that Laravel Nova handles uploads. Livewire does the same thing now with its file upload thing, where it will go and generate that endpoint that you can basically patch directly into S3 or whatever your object storage is, and go that way.
Nice. I didn't realize Nova did that automatically. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. That's how it does it, because it puts it in like that temporary directory, and then it like moves it across or whatever it is. So all of that stuff gets handled in that way through like the view components and things like that. And this is typically how you would handle the file uploads with JavaScript on the front end. Is you would go and get this endpoint to upload, like it gives you the signed URL, and it's like this file goes to this endpoint, and you can only do it for, you know, however long, 7 hours or whatever. As long as the upload starts within that expiration time, you know, it doesn't matter how long it takes. You just won't be able to start again if it's past the expiration. So yeah, definitely the way to go.
Interesting.
If you're doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's very nice. Yeah, I love that. So that's been something we've been working on. I'm trying to think if there was one other thing, but we've already discussed some of the stuff that we've talked about with our tenant disks. We've just gone kind of another step past it. You know, we talked about like how we wanted to secure those different locations, and we basically said we're just going to have a single bucket. That way we can sort of transport it around if we needed to put it in different regions, or clone it to like, you know, have multiple instances of it in different regions for like high availability, or for like serving it from the edge or something like that. It's just one bucket we have to replicate rather than one bucket per vendor. And then we're just protecting those things with policies. So we've been doing that recently. We actually created, because the last time we talked about it, we were like, how exactly do we want to do that? We talked about having them all defined in file systems. .php, but what we did is we also added on a macro to storage that is called tenant disk, and then what it does is it inspects the currently logged in user and then grabs the disk off of the team that they belong to, and then it uses that. Yeah. So now in Arch, we're just testing to say like there should never really be storage used without having to have something like tenant disk on there, so that we can protect it from saying like we're not interested in doing what is happening here? Sorry, 1 second. Oh, my word. One second. Okay. You know how I was playing with Loopback? Yeah, it just decided to stop working because it was on like a trial version. It started hissing white noise in my ears. It's like as a, hey, we're done. Anyway, yeah, so that's been actually going pretty well, and we've had good success with that. And so I feel good about it. Like I feel pretty protected. Like whatever the team the current user is logged into, there's really no way for them to get access to any disk other than the one that's associated to the team that they're on. So that's been good. But we've had a whole lot of like tenant stuff that we've been working on, and yeah, no more new like huge revelations or discoveries necessarily. A lot of it literally just dealing with that storage stuff. Then the other thing I was going to possibly talk about real quick, and then if you have anything else you're thinking about too, is the whole API debacle, like we talked about on Laravel News last time.
Yes. Yeah.
And so basically, you know, what we were trying to find is what is the correct solution for generating an open API spec and or auto-generated docs and or something like Swagger UI. You know, how do you do all that? And so the one that was like the API platform, which Taylor retweeted not too long ago, and we just found that it's like absolute garbage. Not absolute garbage. It just is not tuned to work with Laravel. It's tuned to work with Symfony.
It's not artisanal.
No, it's not artisanal at all. And so what is artisanal is Scramble. And Scramble is very nice. And if you have Scramble Pro, it works with Spacie's data objects and the filtering, query filtering stuff, and everything else is plain Laravel. And it creates docs with Stoplight. Have you ever used Stoplight before?
Yeah, the API like documentation authoring tool.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. There's also, however, an option for VeepPress. VeepPress has a thing that will generate docs straight off of an OpenAPI spec as well. So it's just a little plugin. It reads your OpenAPI spec and then builds you out documentation based on that, which is really cool. And the reason why I like that actually is because we could use VeepPress for the rest of our docs that are non-API related, and then just throw our API stuff in there. So Stoplight is a little bit better on the API docs side of thing than VeepPress is. But VeepPress is better on the rest of the documentation side than the API stuff is. So it's like we're trying to figure out which we're going to do. I think we're going to end up probably doing VeepPress for all of our docs, and then use the Stoplight stuff just for our API docs for now. It doesn't really matter if it's super consistent because nobody's using the app product yet. Anyway, so should be good.
Nice.
Should be good. So what's going on in your world, my friend?
Well, we're 2 weeks away today from Laracon AU 2024. So that's all, full steam ahead. We're just finalizing, printing and signage. And after dark, I had a call with the venue a little bit earlier just to finalize numbers and things like that. We're finalizing venue quote details and things like that for the conference itself and catering. So it's all systems go, just kind of trying to keep track of everything that's happening there, sponsors sending swag to the venue, making sure that like the expectation and all of that is clear, that, if their stuff isn't there on time, we won't be able to put it in the bags, because last year we had this situation where we had people just kind of bringing their swag in throughout the day before as we were setting. So we thought we'd finish packing all the bags, and then another sponsor had brought stuff. So then we had to go and repack all the bags again. So I'm like, if it's not there by 9 a.m., we're not doing it. Like, I'm not repacking bags again. So hopefully we can get through all of it really quickly. There's not heaps that we need to set up. It's just packing the bags, making sure the T-shirts are put to, where they need to be, that all the badges are ready, that all of that kind of stuff is good to go. And we're going to put all the swag bags in the theater in front of the seats. So everything's kind of just, going. You don't have to like wander around with this bag and trying to figure out what to do with it during the registration process. Like, just get in and start mingling, have some breakfast and things like that. So yeah, all just hectic, busy, money going out. You spend 9 months, all the money comes in very slowly and then it all disappears very quickly.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
Which is okay. So we're just finalizing like the last things now, and it's nice seeing all of the lists in my budget go from like tentative to green, because we've like finalized that this is the final amount, this is what it's going to be. So we've got a good picture of where we're going to end up at the end of it. So yeah, all very exciting. People will be on planes next weekend at the time of this recording, so that's all very exciting. Finalizing, I'm doing the Road to Laracon again. For those of you who don't remember, this was a podcast that I did back in 2020, and it was like just a 10-minute short form podcast interviewing the speakers, talking about their taste in music and things like that. So I've got 10 episodes in the bag there. I've got 3 more that I need to record with a few more speakers, and then if there's any stragglers, end of next week to get that done, and then we'll put those out end of next week, so people can have a listen to the playlist and the podcast and things like that as they're actually traveling to Laracon, which will be nice. What else? I've been running. I've been posting in a thread on Twitter that my goal was to get to a 7-kilometer run, which is probably about 5 miles, I guess. 7 kilometers in miles.
It's 4.34 miles.
4.35. Yeah. So, my goal was to be able to run 7 kilometers uninterrupted at a 6-minute average. And
dang, 6-minute average? Holy crap,
Sunday.
dude, that's flying.
Yeah. So I don't know how that translates.
6-minute average?
miles.
Wait, per kilometer, you're saying?
Per kilometer, yeah. So I ran it on Sunday
well,
for
that
the
seems
first
a little
time,
more
7.
Because that's 0.62 miles. And so, okay, all right. I need to convert that.
Yeah, 1 kilometer is 0.66, I think, from memory. So, so I ran it in 5:52 average, which was like exceeded my expectations. But I went for a run today and I ran 5K, and I just pushed it just to see how quickly I could do 5, and I ran it at a 5:25. So definitely got my feet back under me in terms of running. I've been eating well. I've been losing weight. It's been a journey, but it's all been like I had my goal of like this is where I want to be by Laracon, and I've beaten the running goal by 2 weeks, and I think I've come close to my weight goal, but close enough is good enough. In this,
When you're building all
one.
that muscle, though, it's hard to hit those weight goals. You know, you're just going to be a beast.
Well, I haven't lifted any weight.
You don't need to tell anybody that.
3 months.
You don't need to tell anybody that. You just tell them it's the muscle.
It looks like it because you can't see. That's right. The muscle hasn't grown. The fat's disappeared. So
that's right. That's right.
All going to plan. But I'm actually 10 kilos lighter this year than I was last year. But last year my goal was to gain muscle and that. And this year it was just like how much can I lose? So
yep,
it's been going well. Happy with that. But yeah, you know when you're standing on stage for 2 days and photos and cameras and whatever else I want to look my best, so
yep,
that'll be it.
Yep.
My
just got to get that hair under control. Yep, exactly.
Yeah,
get the hair under
for
control.
those of you who are watching the podcast, you can see I was wearing a hat when I went for a run, so my hair is just.
And you've
I'm getting it done again.
Nice, are you? And you've also got some new ink.
Yep, I went and had a tattoo done yesterday, so I took the day off work. It took me 3 years to kind of figure out what it was that I wanted to put on my skin in perpetuity. It took me a year to find an artist, like not that I was looking for a year, but it took me another year after I decided what I wanted to find someone to do the work. And we had like a concept and they sent it to me and I was like, yeah, that's pretty good. And then I went to see them and then we decided it's like, this is not actually what I want to have tattooed. So I went away, we had a talk, went through exactly what it was that I wanted, what I wanted to look like, how I wanted to look like. He sent me and like when he sent me this final design, I was like, yeah, I had like a smile from ear to ear.
Nice.
I was genuinely excited to have it done. So sat in the chair for 5 hours yesterday as he stabbed away with his little needles and ink. Cow. Yeah, it was not too bad. There was like some of the fleshy bits at the back. I won't show because it's a bit I don't know. For those of you who haven't had a tattoo, it looks great straight away because it's like fresh. The ink is like real sharp. Then the redness sets in because you're stabbing the skin for hours at a time, and then like you put a wrap over it to stop like anything from getting in there infected. You want the plasma to heal the skin and things like that. So the ink kind of seeps out a little bit, and there's like all of it. So it looks a bit murky. So I just leave this thing on for a couple of days and then put some aftercare on it, and then should look pretty good. But I posted on Instagram because I didn't think that kind of stuff for Twitter. But yeah, it's on my Instagram. You can find me at the same place. You can find me anywhere if you're interested in that. But yeah, happy that I got it done. Theoretically, it will be all healed up nicely in time for Laracon. So yeah, that's me. That's whirlwind of what's been happening, what's happening, what's going to happen. Excited to see. I mean, the next time we're due to record this show, I will be in Brisbane for Laracon, so we'll miss that week because I just won't find the time. There's going to be so much going on. But for those of you that are coming, I'm excited to share with you what it is that I've been planning for the last 10 months. Hope everyone enjoys. Like, come and say hello. Don't be a stranger. I've purposely worked really hard to make sure that I'm not like hidden away out the back like I was last year, and I want the opportunities to mingle and things like that. So more details to come next week in terms of like watering holes. We've talked about our after parties, our after dark and high tide. And there's lots of secrets still to be had,
of course,
to be shared.
Wouldn't be a good Laracon without some
only
secrets.
for the attendees, only for the people that are there. So I love keeping secrets. Excited to see the talks, excited to see the speakers, excited to catch up with friends, excited to catch up with people that I've been, that you meet online and that you see once a year. So new friends, old friends, people that I haven't seen for years. I haven't seen Matt Stauffer since 2019. I haven't seen Taylor. Like, there's people coming over. I've never met Joe Tannenbaum. I haven't seen Dave. So excited to get the band back together and spend a few days together. I said to Matt, you will be sick of me by the end of the week, but I'm making the most of the gap. So yeah, that is it.
Love it, dude. Love it. Well,
All
I know
right.
you got to go in just a minute here, so let's wrap this one up. 165, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And hey, I don't want to waste an opportunity to just tell you, as a friend, I'm so proud of you for doing Laracon AU. I know it's a ton of work, and I'm so excited that you get to hang out with all the people over there in AU. And I can't imagine myself ever having the guts or the gumption to pull off something of this scale. And so, as a friend, I am very proud of you for doing it. Not as like a weird dad thing,
Thanks,
but
man.
like literally just I can't believe you can do that stuff. I would never trust myself to make that happen. So well done. I'm glad it's finally coming
Thank
to
you.
fruition and the things are getting checked off the list and things are going from red to yellow to green. I'm stoked for you. It's going to be awesome. And I can't wait to hear how everything goes. So anyway, there we go. Episode 165. Thanks everybody for tuning in. You can find show notes for this episode at northmeetsouth.audio/165. If you liked it, rate us up in your podcatcher of choice. 5 stars would be amazing. And like you did last week, we'd love to hear from you on Twitter at Michael Dorinda, at Jacob Bennett, or at North South Audio. Until next time, friends, and until we figure out our audio boards once again, we'll see you later. Peace.